Hi, welcome to MTG. I'm Ashley.
I'm Kenny.
Oh, aggressive. We're here to yell at you. And we're here for another episode of Good Clean Commander.
Today we had three very special guests. We had Kurohitsuki, we had Justin Parnell, and we had ThatMillGuy. All amazing content creators. Please go check them out. And also today we're playing the Doctor Who Precons, which, if you know anything about those Precons, is we're playing some Planechase. So I thought we'd just talk about really quickly about what Planechase is, just so you can have an understanding as we get into the game. Very simple. You have a stack of Planechase cards, and at the start of the game, you flip the top one over. Everybody gets a planar die, which is a blank die with one planeswalk symbol, one chaos symbol, and you roll once per turn for free, and then you can pay 1 mana to roll again, 2 mana, etc., etc. And it just kind of introduces this chaos element to the game, and you'll really see it as we start this game. And it just kind of adds extra flavor and mechanics into the game. So hopefully you enjoy it. We can always revisit that again in some other games. And yeah.
Also,
love it.
Just want to call it again. Huge thank you to our special guests. This was just a very awesome moment because I don't think we had really collaborated with this many different content creators before, and it just was super fun to do. Especially, I hadn't really seen Planechase before. That was awesome to see just all of you do your shenanigans. But if I also want to add too that if you want to go check out any of their channels, I'll have a link in the description below of where you can go check them out.
Let's be honest, you've checked all of them out.
Yeah.
They're great content
Yeah, they're awesome people. Okay, are we ready? Are you going to remember our let's have a
good
clean game. Oh, we approached that so differently. Chef, aka ThatMillGuy, is playing Davros, Dalek Creator. This villainous deck wants their opponents to lose 3 or more life so Davros can trigger to make more Dalek creatures. And in Chef's starting hand, they have a Cult of Skaro, Fatigued Pools, Gallifrey Council Chamber, Ashad, the Lone Cyberman, an Island, Talisman of Dominance, and a Temple of Deceit. Justin is playing the 13th Doctor with their companion as Yasmin Khan. This deck cares about getting counters on creatures by casting spells from exile, and in Justin's starting hand they have a Temple of Mystery, Ominous Cemetery, Storm-Carved Coast, Sheltered Thicket, Confession Tile, River Son, and a Frost Fair Lure Fish.
Kuro is playing the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler. This deck wants to suspend spells and remove suspend counters to flood the board with value. In Kuro's starting hand, they have a Prairie Stream, a Mystic Monastery, Mountain, Plains, Gallifrey Falls, and No More, Amy Pond, and Temple of Epiphany. I'm playing the 4th Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith. This Doctor wants to utilize historic spells, synergies to gain value. And in my starting hand, I have a Waterlogged Grove, Prairie Stream, Talisman of Unity, Mindstone, Leela, Civateem Warrior, and Unearthly Child, and Susan Foreman.
Ken starts off the game by flipping the top card of the planner deck, revealing City of Dialects. Shaft draws and plays a Temple of Deceit, scrying a card to the bottom. He then passes the turn. Justin draws and plays a tapped Sheltered Thicket. He then rolls the planner die. Rolling a blank, Justin then passes the turn.
Kuro draws for turn and plays a Temple of Epiphany, scrying 1. Deciding to leave the card on top, Kuro passes. I draw and play a tapped Prairie Stream. I roll the planner die and I land on Chaos. Chaos ensues, which means I create 3 black, 3/3 Dalek creature tokens with Menace attacking each opponent. I also target Shaft to lose life equal to the number of artifacts I have. Shaft loses 3 life. Moving to my end step, I sacrifice my 3 Dalek tokens and then pass the turn.
Shaft then untaps, draws, and plays an island as land for turn. He then pays 2 and casts a Talisman of Dominance. Shaft decides to roll the planner die, landing on a blank. Shaft then passes the turn to Justin. Justin untaps and draws for turn. Hoping to planeswalk away from these heckin' dialects, Justin rolls the planner die. The die lands on a blank. Justin then plays a mountain as land for turn and taps his lands to foretell a card, and with that, he passes the turn to Kuro.
Kuro untaps, draws, and plays a plains. He taps 2 to cast his commander, Rose Tyler. Kuro then passes the turn to me. I untap, draw, and play a Waterlogged Grove as land for turn. I tap 2, losing 1 life from the Waterlogged Grove, cast a Talisman of Unity. In an attempt to get lucky for a second time, I decide to roll the planar die. To the table's dismay, I roll Chaos again. I create 3 more Daleks and swing 1 at each opponent. Because I have 4 artifacts now, I choose Justin to take 4 more damage. Moving to end step, I sacrifice my Dalek tokens and pass the turn.
Shaft untaps and draws. He plays a Galfrey Council Chamber as land for turn. When Chamber ETBs, Shaft surveils 1 and chooses to keep it on top of his library. He then pays 4 to cast his commander, Davros, Dalek, Creator. Hoping to tap into some of Ken's luck, Shaft rolls the planar die. The die rolls a blank, and Shaft passes the turn. Justin then untaps, draws, and plays a Storm-Carved Coast as land for turn. He then pays 3 and casts River Song. Justin now draws cards from the bottom of his library because River Song's out on the battlefield. Whenever an opponent scries, surveils, or searches their library, River Song gains a +1/+1 counter and deals damage to that player equal to its power. Justin then rolls the planar die, hoping to switch up to a different plane, and with no avail, also rolls a blank and then passes the turn to Kuro.
Kuro untaps, draws, and plays a mountain as land for turn. He pays 3 to cast Amy Pond.
When Amy Pond enters the battlefield, Kuro may search his library for Rory Williams and put it into his hand. When Kuro searches for Rory, this triggers River Song, and Justin puts a +1/+1 counter on them. He decides to send the 3 damage from River Song's trigger at Kuro since he was the one searching his library.
Moving to combat, Kuro sends Rose Tyler at me, and I take 2 commander damage. Second main phase, Kuro rolls a planar die and lands on a blank. Kuro passes. I untap, draw, and play a plains as land for turn. I pay 2 for my commander, Sarah Jane Smith. I then tap my 2 remaining lands to cast a Mind Stone. Sarah triggers, and I make a clue token. Hoping to keep the chaos streak going, I roll the planar die, and land on the Planeswalker symbol. The table breathes a sigh of relief as I reveal the next plane to be New York. Due to the plane's effect, at the beginning of combat, my non-creature artifacts become 3/3 hasty vehicles until end of turn. I crew my clue token with Sarah Jane and swing it at Kuro. Kuro takes 3 in the air, and I pass the turn.
Shaft untaps, draws, and plays a Fiery Islet as land for turn. Deciding he wants to move to a different plane, Shaft tries his luck and rolls the planar die. It lands on a blank. With Sadness on the stack, Shaft then pays 4 and casts Cult of Skaro. Moving to combat, Shaft swings his commander at Ken. Unable to block, Ken takes 4 commander damage. At the beginning of the end step, because Ken lost 3 or more life, Davros triggers and Shaft makes a 3/3 Dalek. Ken then faces a villainous choice, forcing him to decide between discarding a card or letting Shaft draw a card. Choosing violence, Ken discards Leela, Sevateem Warrior, and then passes the turn to Justin. Justin untaps, draws, and thanks to River Song's effect, Justin draws from the bottom of his library instead of the top. Justin then pays 3 and casts his commander, the 13th Doctor. He then follows that up by playing a Temple of Mystery, scrying 1 card to the bottom. Justin rolls the planar die and hits a blank as well. Moving to combat, Justin sends River Song at Ken. Ken takes 3 to the face, and then, moving to end step, the 13th Doctor triggers, and Justin untaps all of his creatures that had +1/+1 counters.
Kuro untaps, draws, and plays a Prairie Stream untapped. He pays 4 and casts Wedding Ring, choosing Shaft to create a token copy of the Wedding Ring. Deciding not to crew his Wedding Ring, Kuro passes the turn. I untap and draw for turn. I pay 4 to cast my second commander, the 4th Doctor. Sarah Jane triggers, and I create another clue token. For the first time this game, I roll a blank on the planar die. Feeling like my luck has run dry, I pass the turn.
Shaft then untaps and draws for turn. Wedding Ring triggers, because oh my gosh, wedding bells, and he draws a card with Shaft. Shaft plays a Temple of Malice and scries 1 card to the bottom. Here, we actually missed a River Song trigger, but don't worry, she puts in the work later. Shaft pays 5, and then losing life from the Islet, casts the Dalek Emperor. Thanks to his affinity for Daleks, the Emperor is discounted by 2. Shaft then rolls the planar die and hits a heckin' blank again. At the beginning of combat, the Dalek Emperor triggers, and each opponent is faced with a villainous choice. They either sacrifice a creature, or Shaft creates a 3/3 Dalek. Not wanting to sacrifice any of their creatures, all 3 players at the table choose to give Shaft a 3/3 Dalek. Thanks to the Emperor giving other Daleks haste, Shaft sends 2 Daleks at Justin, Cult of Skaro at Kuro, and 2 more Daleks at Ken. On attack, Cult triggers, and Shaft rolls a die to choose an ability at random. The second mode is chosen, and Shaft draws 2 cards. Wedding Ring triggers, and Kuro draws 2 cards with Shaft. Deciding not to block, Justin and Ken take 6 damage each, and Kuro takes 4. Move into end step, Davros triggers, and each opponent faces a villainous choice again. Justin chooses to discard a Temple of Epiphany, Ken discards a Barbara Wright, and Kuro lets Shaft draw a card. Wedding Ring triggers, and Kuro draws with him. Shaft, on that spicy turn, then passes to Justin. Justin untaps, draws, and plays a Command Tower. He then pays 5 for his previously foretold card, Frost, Fair, Lure, Fish. Since Justin cast a card from somewhere other than his hand, his commander triggers and he puts a +1/+1 counter on the 13th Doctor. When Lure Fish enters the battlefield, Justin creates 2 1/1 fish tokens and 2 tapped treasure tokens. Justin then rolls the planner die and lands on Planeswalk. They move to a heckin' new plane! Yeah! And the one that Ken reveals is the Pyramid of Mars. Pyramid of Mars states that when it planeswalk and at the beginning of your upkeep, you surveil 2, so Justin surveils 2 and puts both cards in his graveyard. Moving to combat, Justin sends his Lure Fish at Shaft and his 2 Time Lords at Kuro. Neither player blocks, so Shaft loses 7 life and Kuro loses 6. Moving to his end step, Justin untaps all of his creatures with +1/+1 counters and passes the turn.
Kuro untaps, and because of Pyramid of Mars, he surveils 2, putting both in the graveyard. Justin's River Song triggers, getting a 1/1 counter and dealing 4 damage to Kuro. Kuro draws for turn and follows this up by casting Rory Williams. Since Rory wasn't cast from exile, Kuro exiles it with 3 time counters on it and then creates a clue. Kuro plays a tapped Mystic Monastery and then pays 2 for an Arcane Signet. Kuro passes.
Editor's note here, Rose I don't think was supposed to get a +1/+1 counter on them because Rose would have had to attack to put a time counter on each suspended card and each other permanent you control with a time counter, but this does not change the outcome of the game.
I untap and surveil 2 on my upkeep, putting both cards in the graveyard. River Song triggers, getting another counter and dealing 5 damage to me. I pay 4 and cast a Return to Dust, choosing to exile the Dalek Emperor and the Call to Skaro. Knowing Shaft will take River Song damage in his upkeep, I decide not to roll the planet die and pass the turn.
Shaft untaps and surveils 2, putting both cards into the graveyard. This triggers River Song, and she gains a counter and then deals 6 damage to Shaft. Shaft draws, and Kuro draws as well thanks to the Wedding Ring. Shaft then plays a tapped Creeping Tar Pit. Moving to combat, Shaft swings 4 3/3 Daleks with Menace at Justin. Justin double blocks what he can, so he blocks 1 Dalek with his commander and a fish token, a second Dalek with River Song and his second fish token, and then Shaft orders the blocks so that one of the fish tokens die, and then Justin takes 6 damage from the 2 unblocked Daleks. Now, in his second main phase, Shaft casts a Blasphemous Act, dealing 8 damage to each creature, clearing the board of River Song's heckin' shenanigans. He then follows that up by paying 2 for a Thought Vessel. Then, paying 4 and losing 2 from the Talisman and Fiery Islet, Shaft casts Ashod the Lone Cyberman. And then with that, Shaft passes the turn. Justin untaps and surveils 2. Putting both cards into his graveyard, Justin then draws and plays an Ominous Cemetery assigned for turn. Ooh, spooky. He then pays 3 and casts a Confession Dial. When Dial enters the battlefield, Justin then surveils 3, putting all 3 cards into the graveyard. Justin then taps Confession Dial, giving River Song escape until end of turn. He then escapes River Song by paying 3 and exiling 3 cards from his graveyard. The board groans, everyone's like, what the heck? Get out of here, River Song. And then Justin passes the turn to Kuro.
Kuro untaps and surveils 2, choosing to leave one on top of his library and putting the other in the graveyard. He then draws for turn and then plays a Trenzalore Clock Tower as land for turn. Kuro pays 4 and casts Kate Stewart. He then pays 3 to cast the 9th Doctor. Kuro tapping the Trenzalore Clock Tower puts a time counter on it, triggering Kate Stewart, creating Kuro a 1/1 soldier token. Moving to combat, Kuro sends the 9th Doctor to me. Unable to block, I take 2 damage. Kuro passes. I untap and begrudgingly surveil 2 cards, putting them both in the graveyard. River Song triggers, getting a counter and dealing 4 damage to me. I draw for turn, and then pay 4 to cast Alistar the Brigadier. In an attempt to save us from the never-ending damage, I roll the planar die. Alas, the dieth does not giveth, so I pass the turn to Shaft.
Shaft untaps, shakes his fist at River San, and painfully surveils 2, putting both cards in the graveyard. River San heckin' sings her song, and Shaft takes 5 damage. Shaft draws for turn, and Kuro draws with him. Then, Shaft rolls the planar die, hoping to get out of this plane so they all could survive, and rolls Chaos. Chaos ensues, and Shaft is able to return a creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Unfortunately, Shaft has no available targets in his graveyard, so nothing enters the battlefield. He then plays an untapped Shipwreck March as land for turn, and paying 3, he then casts Day of the Moon. Moon enters, and Shaft adds a lore counter, triggering the first chapter. Shaft chooses the name River San, meaning all cards named River San are goated. He then follows this up by paying 3 for a Dalek Squadron. And with that, he passes the turn. Justin untaps and surveils 2, putting both in the graveyard. Justin then draws for turn, and still drawing from the bottom of his deck because of River San, he follows that up by playing a Forest and pays 5 for a Quantum Misalignment, creating a non-legendary copy of River San, as if 1 wasn't enough. Then using 2 treasures and 2 lands, Justin casts Danny Pink. Danny Pink gives creatures Justin controls the ability that says, whenever 1 or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. The table groans, and moving to combat, Justin sends the goated River San at Ken. Ken blocks with his Alistai, and Alistai dies, and with that, Justin passes the turn.
Kuro untaps, which triggers the 9th Doctor, giving Kuro an additional untap step. This makes Kuro have to surveil 2 twice, killing him from the River Song damage. Both River Songs also get counters from both upkeeps, triggering Justin's Danny and letting him draw 2 cards. I untap, surveil, and die instantly.
Shaft untaps, surveils, and also dies from the River Song triggers, meaning Justin wins. GG's all.
Well, I don't think I've ever had a more explosive turn 1 in my entire life. turn 1 and turn 2.
That was really funny. Honestly, and I'm not even exaggerating because I was recording the game while you all were playing. I just had a bowl of popcorn and I was literally just eating popcorn, watching everything happen. It was really
the sad thing is that was probably my strongest moment in the game, was rolling Chaos twice in a row, because afterwards I incidentally, without any real control, became the arch enemy at the table. So
it was so funny because it's was it 9 damage, and I was just there eating my popcorn there's the drama about to unfold.
And to top it all off, I have to select somebody as well to take an extra however many life. So it was
really funny. I enjoyed myself.
It's Planechase. That's Planechase in a nutshell. But I think we can pretty easily deduce what our MVP card was this episode. Mm-hmm. Ashley, do you want to?
Oh, I get the honors. Actually, I really love this card too. It was one of my favorite characters in the Doctor Who series, River San. And if anyone thought that was a bad card, not in Planechase. That was crazy to watch. Fastest
that
game.
Sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah.
Just that mixed with the plane we were on, having people surveil at the beginning of every turn, and then just when it couldn't get worse, we had 2 River Songs, and now there were multiple upkeeps, and it was just bam, 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 consecutive eliminations. It was wild.
It was definitely the fastest like Precon game that I've ever seen. Because usually, like when you play with Precons, it's like what, like at least a 3-hour game. But like seeing like it was like within 40 minutes, I think. Like it was crazy. Like,
right. And again, a huge thank you to our 3 guests who joined us today. Again, all their information will be wherever the information goes.
That was a great direction. Below.
Below.
Thank you all for hanging out with us till the end. That means you're the real one. I don't know. Real. Everyone else is fake.
Thank you for hanging out with us to the very end if you're still here. And I guess until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.